Hello friends, welcome to the next episode of Blossoms and Bourbon. I had potato soup for lunch, and I'm not sure what's for dinner. Hello friends, welcome to another episode of Blossoms and Bourbon. My name is Mark, I'm the owner here at Creative Occasions. Welcome to my workroom. If you guys want to really help us out, I hope that you'll remember to like and subscribe to the videos. Be sure and hit the little bell icon so that you'll be notified of new content. And that really will help us out a bunch. In fact, share it with your friends. If you enjoy it at all, if you find it entertaining or informative, and you have friends in the garden club or whatever, please share it with them. Let them know about it. Tonight, I am especially excited about this episode because we did a poll on both our Instagram and Facebook accounts, and just to kind of help figure out what we should do for these arrangements. So the first arrangement that we're going to do in this episode is based on the poll that we did on Instagram. And as you can see, this is the container that won. And I'm so glad that it won because I've been wanting to work in this container for a while. So good job on your part. But before we get started on the arrangement, I want to introduce to you a bourbon that I found the last time that I was in Kentucky, which has been probably 2 years ago now. So I've had this bottle for a while. And it's called, I don't know if you're going to have to bleep this or cover this up, but it's called Big Ass Bourbon. Interestingly, this bourbon is named after a specific variety called mammoth donkeys that are grown to be and developed genetically to be bigger than a standard donkey. Apparently they were used back in the early colonial era on farms. And so this bourbon was named after that animal and hence called the Big Ass Bourbon. It is actually distilled in Indiana. It is bottled in Kentucky. It is a high rye product, according to what I can find on the website about it, but I could not find a mash bill, so I don't know exactly the percentages of the rye in it. But it's a little bit lighter in color than you could see than some of the ones that I prefer. That's really interesting. There's a little like cinnamon note. A little fruity, like maybe an apple or something. Well, it's not horrible. I did read a review online that said that it was not the best, but it's not awful. It's not one that I'm sure I'd go back again for, but it's probably an okay sipping bourbon. Again, to get a little bit of the fruit notes in it, some apple, a little cinnamon, a little heat from the rye. Not bad. All right, let's get on with designing flowers. The mechanic of choice that won in the poll was a tape grid. I think a tape grid is a fine choice for this particular container. It's going to work well for what we're doing. So we're just going to put that tape grid in place. I'm just kind of sort of equidistantly spacing those out, making sure that they're attached. And then we're going to do some in the other direction and go back around the entire thing just to make sure that they stay in place. If you've seen me do that before, you know that I'm really all about mechanics, making sure the mechanics are good, making sure that things are nice and stable. I've seen my delivery drivers deliver, so I want to make sure that this stuff stays in place as much as possible. All right, so we've got the kind of grid in place. We're going to go around now and just kind of hold all those little individual pieces down just by making a loop around the edge for some security. I think, already have a link in the description for the video for this tape. It's an affiliate link from Amazon, so I do collect a small commission if you decide to purchase something. But anyway, handy stuff. Now, the color palette that won in this poll was this beautiful, soft pastel color palette. And if you kind of look at these flowers here on the table, you'll see It's a very soft lavender, a soft pink, sort of a peachy color, maybe just a little bit of a sort of a darker corally orange. And then also another shade of purple. And we picked some beautiful kind of spring flowers. It's going to feel like spring. And I think we all might need that right now, depending on what part of the country or the world that you're in. We've had snow here. I'm done with that. I'm not a fan of snow, in case you hadn't picked up on that. All right. We did a little color enhancing on this hydrangea. It was a white hydrangea, but we tinted it with a little bit of pink. I want to kind of seat that in here first, because it's going to kind of help hold some of our other flowers in place. Going to go in with a little bit of this stock next. And I really hadn't decided too much about how I want this arrangement to look. I think I want to kind of keep it low and elongated to follow the shape of the container. Again, sort of letting the container guide me in terms of the shape. But yeah, man, these colors are just going to be great in this container. So that's one thing I would like to know for those of you who are watching this and who also participated in the poll. Were you thinking about the container when you chose the color scheme? Or was that just a completely separate process in the voting aspect? I'd be curious to know about that. All right, we're going to add a little bit of this silver dollar eucalyptus. Beautiful silver dollar that came in this week. And again, that's going to give us just a little bit more kind of stem placement, but also to kind of help hold some of the other stems in place. I did see a comment from one person, I think it was my friend Marty, who said that she sometimes struggled with having the right amount of stems for flowers depending on the container that you're using. And if that rings true for anybody else, trust me, that is something that we struggle with here too. You can sometimes pick a container for an arrangement and think, oh, this is going to be great. And you have a specific price point that you're trying to work on for the customer, and you realize that the thing you picked is way too big for the size of the arrangement that you're going to be able to produce with it. So that is not an uncommon thing to have happen. Just get a little bit more of that in there. The greenery also kind of helps keep it a little more light, a little more whimsical. All things that are good in a spring arrangement, right? All right, now let's add some, let's save the stock for a second. I want to put that in just a bit. Let's go for this light pink carnation. I did pick carnations for this because A, they're readily available. B, they're real workhorses here at the flower shop. We use them a lot for all sorts of things. They're so sturdy. We've talked about that before. Come in so many beautiful colors. I really, really think that they're like the great misunderstood flower. I'm kind of creating sort of a tiered, like a stair-step sort of effect with the carnations there, so that there's one over top of the other. I might repeat that here on this side. Okay. Yeah, so now I see where that other piece of stock needs to go. These are called Fuji mums or spider mums, commonly called. When I saw that this color palette was the one that was going to be the color palette of choice for this arrangement, I immediately thought about these mums because this is such a pretty shade of lavender. It's a really soft kind of color. I really like it. Mums too are readily available, very sturdy, easy to work with. The one thing that you do have to be careful about with these spider mums is that they will shatter because the petals that are placed into the calyx of the flower are pretty fragile. So they won't handle a lot of, beating around or things like that. They will tend to fall apart if you do too much of that. All right. Now let's go in for just a little bit of contrast with this darker carnation. These are called moon varieties, and I'm not sure how that first came to be, but I do love these colors. They come in beautiful, true shades of lavenders and purples. Really, really pretty. I am kind of using a grouping technique for this so that flowers are grouped with similar types of flowers. Also some similar colors. One thing that I will caution you about with a container like this, if you look at the way that I've cut this stem, it seems almost long for this kind of arrangement. But honestly, if you look at the size of the vase and how you insert that flower, it's got a long distance to travel all the way across. And you do want to be sure that you've allotted for the stem length to be sure that it's all the way down in the water. So it will take up water and it'll stay fresh and nice and happy for a long time. So I like that kind of extending that line. Let's do another one over here. And again, the stems on carnations are a little bit more rigid, so you have to use some caution when you're kind of bending them, kind of inserting them into the vase and putting them at an angle. These roses, I'm sorry, I do not know the variety of this rose. I think it may be a type of garden rose, or at least a rose that's developed to look like a garden rose. I love that sort of peachy coral color on the outside of the petals, and it just works so well with this color scheme. So again, when we were choosing the flowers today for that color palette that won, this one just kind of leapt out of the cooler at us. Gives a little bit of contrast to that pink and a little bit of depth with a little more richness to the color. You know, the secret weapon for getting the rose to open. I do want to take just a minute and thank everybody for participating in the poll. That I had a great time. I just really enjoyed watching the results come in and to see how it was going and to see what we were end up with. Thought that was lots of fun. We'll do it again sometime. All right, I've got another rose here too. We get these assortments in every week at the shop, and we never know what's going to come in with them. Honestly, they just are that. They're an assortment. And this one is another one that looks kind of like it could be more like a garden rose and fuller when it opens. Got a little bit of green on the edge and a really soft sort of blushy, pinky, peachy orange coloration. So I'm going to pop a couple of those in there too because they work really well with these colors. Gosh, this is like crazy spring. I love this. All the people who voted for this color scheme really must be looking forward to Easter. All right, a long stem insertion, so we're going to leave this one across longer because I want it to go across the vase. So now that we're kind of moving toward the end of the arrangement, you can see that the carnations have really sort of become supporting members. They're kind of tucked down in for color. The emphasis is more on the expensive flowers, which is the stock and the roses, and there's nothing wrong with that. And let's just, okay. I'm gonna just spin that a little bit and let you tell me what you think. Thumbs up, like it, make a comment. I kind of like it. Jason, what do you think? I got the thumbs up from Jason, so it's all good. You guys, first of all, thanks again for participating in the poll. That was just awesome. It was a lot of fun. Great job on choosing a container, a mechanic, and also the color scheme for the flowers. The color scheme worked beautifully with the container, and so that's why I'm curious to know if you actually were thinking that as you were making your selections. Go out and find yourself some big ass bourbon, okay? It's a pretty good pour. I'm gonna enjoy this while I'm looking at these beautiful flowers. And so until next time, cheers to you and to flowers every day. Thanks for joining me.